40, plays all around the city. Give it up to Greg Graydon.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have really good manners. And when I walked in here earlier tonight, I held the door open for the person behind me, who happened to be a woman. And as she walked past me, she turned around and said, "It's nice to know chivalry still exists." And then I said, "Nice ass." Let me tell you the worst part about having sex. It's having to have it again. And I mean in the same night. Like when I was in my 20s and I was with a woman and we had sex and she wanted to go again, I'd be like, okay, give me 15 minutes. When I was in my 30s and she wanted to go again, I'd be like, okay, give me an hour. And now I'm like, how's next Wednesday? It's really not that funny. You ever run into somebody you used to have sex with and you don't know whether or not you should say hi to that person because she's your ex-wife? Got into a car crash last week. Thank you for your certificates. You guys are all assholes. I was on the highway, I wasn't speeding, I didn't stop short when the car behind me just rear-ended me. We both pull over, we get out of our cars. The other driver looks at me and she goes, "Why did you hit my car?" Yeah, so I'm about to explain to her how physics works. But before I could, another car came by, sideswiped her car, and kept on going. And then she looked at me and she goes, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And I said, "Yeah. Why did you hit that car?" Yeah, you're right to laugh. Recently, I solved a Rubik's Cube for the first time in my life. And now I'm working on a rubber band ball. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. These are all things on my bucket list. I have the world's most boring bucket list. The next thing I want to do is I want to use one of those deli meat slicers. Like, you know, God forbid something was wrong with me and I had to call the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I would be the easiest person ever. They would be like, "Okay, do you want to take batting practice with the New York Yankees?" And I go, no. Throw me behind the deli counter. Give me a big salami. And then they're like, "You sure? You can meet Aaron Judge." I'm like, "Why? Does he want a sandwich?" One of the greatest things about being in New York are the great restaurants. And one of my favorites, and maybe you've been here too, is a place called Arby's. Yeah, you're Arby's. Arby's has this commercial where they say, "How do you know you're at an Arby's and not just some other steakhouse?" I've been to a lot of steakhouses in my life, and I've never thought to myself, "Wait a second, this is an Arby's." I'm at a point in my life where there are things I hate, maybe more than I should, like when people misspell words on social media, anybody that calls me chief. My kids. I have 2 kids, and they're great kids, but I have to admit I worry about them getting bullied, especially after I've had too much to drink. My son is a freshman in college, and that's crazy for me to think because he's just so stupid. And I'm going to back this up with some evidence. The first time I realized my son is a moron, he was about 5 years old. We were out to dinner at a fancy restaurant, Arby's, and there was a baby at the table next to us that wouldn't stop screaming and crying. And my son's like, "Dad, that baby is so loud. I want him to leave." And I looked at my son, I was like, "Buddy, you used to be exactly like that baby." And he got this real confused look on his face, and he goes, "Wait, I was a black baby?" When he was 10, I discovered he still believed in Santa Claus. 10 is a little old for that. So I sat him down, I told him the truth, I told him there was no Santa. He was sad, but I figured it was much better to find out from me rather than from his friends at Hebrew school. More recently, he told me he's going to be a philosophy major, which is pretty stupid. And he calls me and he goes, "Hey, Greg." Oh, he calls me by my first name because he's a douchebag. I guess you guys know him. He goes, "Let me ask you a philosophical question that's going to really change your mind about things." And he goes, "Greg, would you rather have your arm eaten off by a bear or a shark?" And this really is causing me to question a lot of things in life. Mostly, do I want to keep spending money on his college education? He told me that when he graduates, he's going to move upstate, live off the land, and sell his poetry for a living. And that's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There's no way he's going to graduate. Before he went to school, he came out and he told me he was gay. You guys are homophobes, that's cool. Though he didn't directly say he was gay, what he said was, "Dad, I'm a vegan." So he's not gay. He's not gay. I met his girlfriend over spring break. Took him out, I took him out to lunch, Arby's again. And we're having lunch. She goes out to use the restroom, and I'm like, "I really like her." And he goes, "Greg, I got to break up with her." And I'm like, "Why?" And he goes, "I found out she does porn." And I'm like, "Yeah, I knew she looked familiar." His roommate up at school is a kid named Islam Muhammad. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that name, but that would be like if I had named my son Jewy Jewface. As it is, I named him Benjamin Isaac, so... pretty much the same thing. That corner, I'm killing that corner. I have a 17-year-old daughter, and she has grown up more or less watching me do stand-up comedy. So she has a warped sense of an appropriate father-son conversation, father-daughter conversation. The other day we were walking on the street, we walked by a garbage can, and she goes, "Dad, that garbage is dirty and smelly. just like you. And then she looks at me and she goes, now you roast me, Dad. And I look at her, I was like, I don't want to roast you. She said, come on, Dad, roast me, roast me. I'm like, all right, fine. You're a stupid bitch. Roasted. I was taking her to meet her boyfriend, and I like her boyfriend. He's a good guy. But here's the thing about him. He loves Lululemon, sample sales. He named his dog Louie after Louis Vuitton. Like, you know, we know what this kid is. But I don't want to tell my daughter she's dating a gay kid, because I think that might scar her more than she's already been scarred by me. So I said to her, it's really cool that your boyfriend doesn't subscribe to normal gender stereotypes. And she's like, oh yeah, Dad, he's gay. And I'm like, okay, why are you dating him? And she goes, Dad, every girl dates at least one guy who eventually realizes he's gay. I'm just getting it out of the way for her. Unlike your girlfriend right now. And then she points right at me and she goes, now Dad, that's how you roast someone. She has a show on YouTube where she interviews her friends, her mom, and me. She does, you know, little prank stuff, and she's telling me people are now making like rude comments, you know, in the comment section anonymously. And I'm like, that's horrible. What are they saying? She goes, Dad, one person said I seem like I'm too nervous. And I said, well, that sounds like constructive criticism. Have you thought about drinking before you do? And she goes, Dad, one person said one of my friends needs to go on a diet. And I'm like, oh, you mean Amy? And then, Dad, worst of all, someone called Mom a slut. Oh yeah, that was me. I've been dating the same woman now for, it's going to be a year. And, great, you guys hate me. And, you know, we're talking about having a kid. And if we do have a kid, I'm not going to make the same mistakes with that I made with my first two. This time, I'm going to be completely uninvolved. And I'm so happy that I'm in a relationship for many reasons, but one of them is I don't have to go on first dates. Like, they're horrible. And I remember, like, because you meet people, like, usually online, and you just don't, you got no connection. And I went on a date with a woman, and the first thing she said to me, it wasn't, hi, how are you, nice to meet you. It was, how do you feel about butt play? Yeah, and I didn't know how to answer that because I've never even heard of that band. Now, typically I date age appropriate, but when I was 42, I dated a 25-year-old. And I have to tell you, that wasn't as much fun as I thought it was going to be because she always wanted me to do these things that I just can't do at this point in my life. Like, you know, connect on an emotional level. And she would also do this thing where every time we were intimate, she would ask me to choke her. Now I'm a gentleman, you know, so I would. But no matter how hard I choked her, she always asked me to do it harder, and we had to break up, which is really for the best because it's such a small margin of error. You know, between good kinky fun and criminally negligent homicide. That's my time. Thanks so much.
Thomas for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for James Camacho.